Welcome back to the Full Force Combat podcast. After a very busy weekend, Paddy Pimblett, Justin Gautier, Arnold was out, Ateba, Gautier, Mody, Bakauskus, and we've got a couple of announcements of our own in regards to HBO and Undeniable. But how are we doing, boys? How are we doing, squad?
Good. I mean, a great set of fights. Obviously, also, unfortunately, everyone sort of found out why. At least I stopped doing betting tips for a while because I was miles off it with both of mine. But yeah, no, great weekend of fights and certainly some exciting stuff to talk about.
Yeah, doing great, Dan. Just been training, just been living a boring life, doing nothing but working, training, and doing bits of this. But yeah, so can't wait to jump into the card. Let's have it.
Eat, sleep, train, repeat. I like it, Alex. But yeah, UFC 324, the first big card of the year on the other side of the pond. Paddy Pimblett's first title shot, and it was a bit underwhelming for Paddy, weren't it? Performance-wise, I thought he looked a bit lethargic. I thought the scorecard that was 48-47 was wrong. I don't think he won 2 rounds. I think he might have won 1, but you'd have to be generous giving him that. I thought he started round 1 very good, and then all of a sudden it got dropped, and Justin was landing the cleaner shots. So even round 1 was a bit close to give. Where did you see it, boys? Did you see it as close as 48-47, Nathan, or did you see it correct? Did you give Paddy 1 round, or even a round at all?
I think I give him a round, but it was a really weird fight, wasn't it? It was sort of it was a great fight in the sense that it was very entertaining, and both guys, especially Paddy got, you could see the marks on his face and everything. And Gaethje, it wasn't necessarily a rolling back the years performance like I sort of said there might be, but he certainly still looked very good, and it was that, he's still such an incredible fighter now, considering how many wars he's been in. But yeah, it was just weird. Like it was an odd fight. Paddy definitely didn't showcase everything that we sort of expected or knew him to be like, and maybe it's a bit of a sense of now is the time to really make those improvements in those areas, especially in the striking, because I mean, Gaethje is probably one of the best strikers in UFC, especially in the lightweight division. But the fighters are only going to get better from up on Gaethje, so it did feel a bit like, all right, welcome to the party. And luckily Paddy's got time on his side, but he got taught a little bit of a lesson, albeit not necessarily maybe the most technical one, if that makes any sense.
Alex?
Yeah, well, to be fair, I thought it was a bit of a mad fight too, but I'm not sure if this is a bit of a hot take or something, but I think Gaethje looked a lot more controlled and a lot more disciplined than what he has done a bit recently. Like, I mean, when you look at the stats, you'd see that across the whole entire fight, bit of a fun fact, Paddy got more significant strikes, but obviously that's probably only in a couple of rounds or whatever. But anyway, the point I was trying to make is that Gaethje was just he was brilliant with his shot selection and his composure, and then he was just kind of accumulating damage. But with Paddy, I don't think he lost any stock, to be honest with you. He's shown his durability. He's shown he can go through some adversity, and had a brilliant round in round 3. And yeah, I think lightweight's had a bit of a traffic jam in it at the minute at the top, because you had obviously Ilya, who stepped out, and then you had Justin, who was only going to fight for the title, and then Paddy, who was in the mix, and then you got Arman Sarukian. But now with that fight done and dusted out of the way, it kind of clears everything up a bit at the top now, and I think we've got some really interesting matchups to come next. Whether it be Ilya comes back a lot sooner than what we think, and then they turn that around, or even if they make it defend it against Arman or something like that, I wouldn't mind seeing that. I know the UFC is not too hot on giving Arman a title shot, but he's on a bit of a press tour lately, and the public seems to be coming round to him. He's doing videos like with Nina Drama and the Nelt Boys, and getting up to all sorts of on the internet, and he's winning people over a bit. So I kind of think that opens the door for maybe like an Arman Justin Gaethje matchup kind of thing. What do you reckon, fellas? What do you reckon's going to be next?
I think, well, in terms of Paddy's and performance, first of all, I think when the fight started, he was trying to land singular big shots, especially the hooks, and then
Yeah.
I think that might have tired him out a little bit more, because then when he was later on in the fight, especially in round 5, when he started throwing them combinations together and he was landing, he had real success. I wonder if how he was throwing the punches and the way he approached the fight in the first couple of rounds had an effect later on, because it was a bit of a strange performance from Paddy. Normally we see Paddy a bit more energetic. He'll stay on the outside a little bit more. He didn't really give himself enough time to work Justin out. And there's also the fact of, I just want to point this out, because I thought Justin fought a really dogfight, and in terms of, there was dirty tricks in there as well. The amount of times he fucking purposely thumb in the eye. We all saw that. And to be fair to Paddy, he didn't even complain to the referee. You could see it was visible that he felt it, but there was no complaints to Mark Goddard whatsoever. So fair fucks to Paddy Pimblett for cracking on with it and seeing it through for the 5 rounds. In terms of what next, if Sarukian's doing all that stuff with Nino, then that's so the UFC can review how popular he is with the public, social media, the in the face and in the eye, public eye every day, see that the response that they can get and see if the numbers match up for to make the fight. I think he's a worthy contender, but let's have it right. Dana doesn't like him, so they need to give all the reasons above and force Dana's hand to give the title shot, so Dana can't ignore it. If the stats, the figures, and everything add up, as well as him being the fucking #1 contender, then Dana can't ignore it anymore, can it? You know, what do you think, Nathan?
I agree. I mean, I think Sarukian deserves a shot. I know Dana's got this weird sort of vendetta against him, but he is quite clearly the best fighter outside of Topuria in that division. So obviously, depending on who's back and when Topuria's back, then I'd love to see that fight. Obviously, Gaethje Sarukian's still a great fight. Gaethje's still so tough, so good. For Paddy, I think the obvious one, depending on how the fight goes on Saturday, Dan Hooker. They've been going at it. They've been talking a lot of trash. Makes sense. Same sort of fan-friendly style. You could definitely get a fight night main event out of that as well if you're looking business-wise. And it's a really fun fight, that, and it's a good opportunity then for Paddy to take those lessons that he's learned from this fight into that, because it's a pretty similar matchup in terms of the style. Maybe not necessarily. Obviously, Hooker's a lot more lanky, but yeah, I think that's the perfect fight for Paddy to come back to. Obviously, depending on how he gets on against Saint Denis on Saturday.
Yeah, or even if Saint Denis won, I wouldn't mind that either. I think it's safe to say now, for Paddy, you don't go backwards and fight someone outside the rank. You don't let someone outside of the rankings come and try and take your spot. You fight only ranked guys now, and that's it. Despite his previous opponents not having win streaks or whatever, if you look at the names on Paddy's record now, you can't really argue with it. He's fought Tony Ferguson, Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje. So he's fighting the biggest names in MMA. So yeah, he can't go backwards. I'm with you. Go forwards. The likes of a Dan Hooker fight or Saint Denis, whoever that may be. And moving on to the other Englishman on the card, Mr. Arnold Allen. After quite a while out, injury layoff, there was glimpses of the composure and the ferocity that he shows, and the timing of his shots and his shot selection and stuff. However, Jean Silva was just fucking awesome, weren't he? His shot selection, his variety, his whole performance was spectacular. That's another one, as well as my fuck up on the Paddy Pimblett shout, thinking Paddy would be too strong for Justin. Alex, you thought Arnold would be too composed, weren't you, mate? And Gene Silva, he's kind of had a point to prove as well, Silva, after the Diego Lopez defeat, didn't he, man?
Yeah, I mean, I've watched the fight back a couple of times now. The first time I thought, yeah, I can kind of see how you give it Gene Silva, but on the highlight video they've got up on YouTube on TNT Sports, what I skimmed over a bit earlier on, like they cut out half the fight, and I watched it back and thought, no, hang on a minute, Arnold Allen won that. So I'm a bit up in the air about what I actually think about the fight right now, because the first round there wasn't really too much to it other than the end. I mean, Gene Silva had that big moment where I can't remember exactly what happened. I think he stumbled him a bit, and then he hit him with a big elbow right at the end of the round. And then I don't know if that was a big enough of a moment to kind of knock the first round his way. But round two, yeah. Round two, I don't know. I feel like Alan was still quite busy, but it's yeah. I don't know. I'm a bit up in the air about that fight still at the minute. I've got here on my notes that I think he was robbed, but I was thinking back to the first fight. It was the first time I watched the fight, and I could see how you swayed it in Gene Silver's favor. But for me, it just shows that featherweight is like still one of the deepest divisions, like in the UFC. Arnold Allen, I know he's sitting around at like 6. I think he's around 6 or 7ish, something like now. But even after that performance, I'd still consider him a tough matchup for everybody else in the division. And I'm quite interested to see what Gene Silver does next, because it's obvious they're trying to prime him for a title shot. They're trying to get him to the top as quickly as possible. That's why they threw him in with Diego Lopez. Obviously, it didn't go his way, and then he's had this competitive fight with Arnold, and the decision's gone his way. So a part of me thinks that they're trying to get Gene Silver to the top ASAP because people like him, and he's a bit autistic, and he's a bit mental. You know, people resonate towards that. So I kind of feel like there's a bit of a massive push to get him to the top. But depending on what Lerone Murphy's next fight is, I'm Osvar or whatever. If they're not going to give Lerone the title shot, I wouldn't mind seeing that matched up, in London in March. And Gene Silver does quick turnarounds too, so that's not even too far left field to say.
Yeah, it was an interesting fight, wasn't it? I mean, Silver, he's really good. I mean, Arnold Allen as well is such a great fighter, but he's one of those guys. You're just never sure whether he's gonna make that full jump up. But to his credit, some of the matchmaking he's had has been unbelievably tough, and I think it's pretty guaranteed. You can put Arnold Allen against anyone in the division, and you're getting a good fight. You're going to get a really tough fight. And I'm intrigued to see what's next, because again, he didn't look outclassed in that. Of course, I had Silver to win it, to be fair, or Silver winning that fight, should I say? And Silver does look really good, and I think you're right when you say he's primed for a title shot. They want to get him up there quite quickly. I think maybe that's how he jumps on his back at the end, makes him like a surfboard. It's all that sort of stuff that the UFC love, and Silver is an entertaining fighter. I'm intrigued to see what he does next, because he is good, very good, and he's starting to prove that he isn't just like sort of a fun fighter that sits around 10 to 15. He actually really could be a world champion. And look, if they've not got Lerone doing anything, maybe that's the fight. I feel bad for Lerone in that instance. I think that's a good fight, definitely. But yeah, I think they've got an Arnold Allen again. You can sort of throw him with anyone, it feels like, and I hope they're a bit kinder to him on the next one. Give him maybe someone in that 10 to 15 range. It won't be easy, but someone that he can get like a really nice win against, because he is certainly good enough, and he's shown that he's got a bit of personality as well. People like him, so I hope he gets a go.
Yeah.
Can I just touch on one more thing? Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just want to throw in, like, as you're saying about the surfboard, it's perception. Gene Silver won through pressure and perception. Even though Arnold was busy and he was throwing out his jabs and hooks, and even though some of it went landed, he was staying busy. But with Gene, because Gene was imposing his will, took him down for a brief 30 seconds to a minute or whatever in the second round, I think it was. But it's just that perception. It's that, wow, he's just threw him down. He's just jumped on his back. Even though Arnold stood up and he's defended well and he's got up, like the perception, the surfboard thing, that's what sticks in judges' minds, and that's what sticks in people's like most recent memory. They think, oh God, he's just been surfboarded on. He's down, boom, 10-9, Gene Silver, pressure and perception. Just a bit of an interesting thought.
It is, but pressure is real, isn't it? It's not just perception. That's what the judges like, and that's how you fucking score a fight. You can't score a fight if someone's on the back foot and they're not causing pressure. But I do get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. And there was definitely more pressure from João and Silva in that fight. But I just think, in terms of, can he win a title at featherweight? Diego Lopez, he looks like he walks around looking like a welterweight. Does he? And he's just been fucking battered off Diego Lopez within the last 12 months. Does he beat a Diego Lopez? Does he beat a Lerone Murphy? Lerone Murphy, I think that's a very fan-friendly fight. I think it's very technical, but I think it's very fan friendly as well. But do we really see Jean Silva winning a title at featherweight? No, I don't. Not after Diego. If that's the level, Diego Lopez and Volkanovski, he's still got a long way to fucking go, and you know it.
Yeah.
That's the fucking gap right now with them contenders at featherweight, and then everybody else like Arnold, Allen, and G. That was a fucking cracking fight, like a contender fight. But them top 2, 3, Volk, or the top 4, Everlev, Volk, Lopez, and Murphy. Then yeah. But moving on to the other English, well, I say Englishman, Lithuanian, but he's basically English, training with Tom Aspinall as well now. Mody Bakauskus. Now, this one was a big shock because Krylov was coming in to this on the back of 2 knockouts. I thought Mody would win comfortably. Nathan, you thought the same, didn't you? We both said. I don't think we had a conversation about it, but I thought to myself, I'd be surprised if Mody doesn't stop him. I'm confident that we can beat him on points at least. And Jesus, Krylov first round. Where the hell did that come from?
Yeah. It was a really good performance. The one thing I did say in the video was, you don't spend 12 years in the UFC if you're shit. Like, it's just not how it, like called Sam Alvey, then it doesn't work like that. It's a different level, and he was impressive there, and I do think Bakauskus, he's a good fighter, but I think maybe he sort of reached his level, and obviously you never know in fighting. All it takes is a run. So I'm not to fully discount him, of course, but I do worry maybe that we've sort of seen where he can really go here. He's been on a really great run, but the Krylov is not a top 5 guy. This is not a guy who is set to fight for the title next. He's a wily veteran gatekeeper, and unfortunately these guys serve a purpose in the sense of, if you can't beat him, then you're probably not going to succeed further up the ladder, so to speak. So I think it was a close. It wasn't a super. They weren't miles apart from each other, but Krylov deserved the win, and obviously getting it in that fashion right at the end. I mean, the one I said, Bakauskas might get him out late. He didn't, and went the other way around. Krylov got him out there late, and great performance from Krylov. He's got quite like an awkward standing style, but it was seemingly working on Bakauskas. So fair play to him, and I think it's just one where he's still young enough to get back and look at what was 9 fights, 2 defeats. In his last 9, 2 defeats last 9. There's still a bit of time, but there's got to be a step up soon in terms of if he is going to be a UFC champion. But still plenty to work on, I think.
Yeah, he's still relatively fresh in his light heavyweight career as well, isn't he? Moving up, Alex, where do you see it for Mody, man?
Yeah, I mean, like, he's training with the best guys. Like, he's training with the Aspinall team. Like, you've saw the developments he's made over the past kind of 3 or 4 fights and whatnot. It's like you said, the knockout just kind of come from nowhere. I'm not sure if he was just like knackered or like. So to be honest, I've got to watch the full fight back. I've only saw it like vaguely because I was half doing something, so I could do it with watching it back. And then I come back, looked at my screen, I thought, oh, it's nearly over now. And then I just saw Mody get flattened, and I was like, oh right. So yeah, I'm not sure what happened there, but I've got no doubt he'll bounce back, 100%. Like, he's training with best guys, got the best resources, and like you said, he's relatively fresh in the light heavyweight career. So we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. But I thought we'd save the best till last. Mr. Ateba Gautier. Now, the hype is real, and sometimes the hype train can make you believe that every time that they step out, they're just going to render a man unconscious. This wasn't the case this time, but he got the job done. A points decision. It might have been coming as well, because he's done a lot of camps within the last year, and he inflates a lot of weight over. So you can imagine from the start of camp to the end of camp, the cut that he does is quite astronomical. So I think that might have just played a little part in the not so much energetic performance. Based on his last performance, it was quite lethargic compared to his last. However, this is Ateba Gautier. He's 23 years old. We've seen what he can do, and it's just some rounds banked in it, Nathan. It's 15 minutes banked experience, and he'll take a lot from that.
That's good. I think sometimes you need that. There's a reason why boxers fight journeymen. They're going to keep him in there for 4 to 6 rounds and give him a test. I think a lot of the time, you know, when a fighter gets a couple knockouts, you're expecting them to stay that way.
Yeah.
And I think I obviously said he was going to get him out there in the first round. And to be fair, for about 30 seconds to a minute, he caught him clean, and it looked like Pimblett was a bit starstruck, didn't know what to do. And then obviously the fight sort of carried on. And I think the one thing that's pretty clear is Gautier, he's still very young, so this is not like really a critique. It's very normal. He just needs a bit of refinement, especially with the strike. And I think he was just going for it a bit too much. And while that's obviously that's a good thing, it's better to go for it too much than not go for it at all. But he's probably just got to refine that style a little bit. But again, look, he won the fight, and that is really, at the end of the day, may mean that he doesn't advance as quickly. And to be honest, that might actually be a good thing. That might be, he gets another fight against a guy at a similar level to Pimblett, and then he can beat him more clearly. And then it's just that rising up, and that actually might benefit him more than just, right, oh, you beat him in 30 seconds. Here you go. Here's a guy who's ranked 15th, and then maybe that's a bit too much too soon. So I think it might actually turn out to be a blessing in disguise for Gautier. And again, at the end of the day, he still won.
Absolutely. Alex?
Yeah. Nathan just took the words right out of my mouth. I think it'd be a blessing in disguise. Like, there's nothing wrong with getting more cage time in at the highest level, And like you said, he's still young. He can go back, fine tune it up. He's got 3 rounds in the bank compared to the minutes he's had. Minutes he's had previously. He's actually got a solid 15 minutes cage time under his belt. So yeah, I don't think it'll do. I don't think it'll be any problems at all. Just think it'll do him favours.
Absolutely. I think the level of matchup is probably about right. Like Nathan said, another type of Pimblett type of opponent next. Big year for him. I'd like to see him have a little bit of a break now, because I don't want him to have like 2 weeks out and then jump straight back into a camp and take an opportunity that they throw up to him. Because if that's the effect that the weights add on, because he's done, how many fights has he had in the last year? 4 in the last year. That's a lot of work on the body. That's a lot of work on the body, isn't it, boys? So a little bit of time out now. And he's got a great team behind him, methodical in what they do at Manchester Top Team. So, and he doesn't live a dickhead life. He prefers to live in the jungle and stuff like that, and all calm and tranquil. So, yeah, take some time out and then come back a different beast.